Hello and welcome to Insights, the podcast with your host, Joe Pane. Join me in this deep exploration of our personal journeys from ambition to meaning, where we stop living life fast and start living life deep. This is a journey of waking up and realizing that our lives have never been about us, but about others. True success leaves positive ripple effects on other souls. I believe that success needs to be redefined from our own personal ambitious endeavors to be redefined as the value that we leave and give to others around us. Join me now as we begin this journey to deeper connections, even more fulfillment, some fun, curiosity, life, love, and all good things. Your deeper journey from ambition to meaning starts right now. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Insights. I thought today I'd have a chat with you about the power of impermanence. The power of impermanence. I was going for a run the other day, as I always do, and I was literally, my sons go to school at literally next door to us, and it's fete year. And so every second year at most of the primary schools, there's a big fete, one of the most significant fundraising events for most schools. And I noticed that there was a board that had just been put up in front of the school next door, an advertising board, advertising the fete. And it had a business that was sponsoring that board. And that business has never sponsored the signage for the fete before. And there's a point to all this, by the way. So I was thinking how the business that had been sponsoring that board for the last 5 or 6 years is no longer sponsoring it because the family that ran that business is not associated with the school anymore. And I had a thought. I thought, gee, it was just a reminder of how impermanent everything is, how everything is always moving. And I thought, wow, that family has got absolutely nothing to do with school anymore. They've been associated with the school for the better half of a decade. And now we've got this sign with a brand new business that's been sponsoring this sign now that represents another family in the school. And I thought, things just move on. There's something in life that we cannot hold on to. Like we can enjoy the present moment, have gratitude for the present moment, but we can't hold on to life. It just keeps moving. It keeps flowing. And this power of impermanence was amplified even more just in the last few weeks. Our beautiful neighbor, Mary, died just in the last couple of weeks, 1 month short of her 102nd birthday. And going to her funeral, and also a friend of ours, well, not a friend of ours, but a fellow who I used to run with, ran with him for about 10 years, and I hadn't seen him for a little while, for quite a few years. But I discovered just recently that he died as well of a massive heart attack after a run one morning. At the sprightly age of 63, because most of us are in that sort of 40 to 60 category with our running groups. And I thought, and on this run, as I'm running toward, where I go down the local river, I thought about how there's a different family associated to sponsoring the fete now because of the other family moving on, because time just moves on. I was thinking of Mary, our neighbor of 20 years, who is no longer amongst us. Her spirit lives, depending on what your beliefs are around all of this, but I believe her soul and her spirit, her energy is around us still, but her body's not, and she's not as a personality. I was thinking of how definitive it is that my running friend is no longer around. He's gone, like it just happened, no pun intended, and I say this with the greatest of respect, it happened in a heartbeat, like it just over. Like we don't know when the last breath's coming. We don't know when the last run is coming. We don't know when the last conversation is. And I find that this is really, really important to remind ourselves because of the power of impermanence. And I call it the power of impermanence because everything is temporary. My sons are in grade 5 as of the recording time of this podcast. And it's such a sweet moment of life at the moment. 2 11-year-olds, they're twin boys, 11-year-olds, who it's just the sweetest time. And look, and hopefully it'll be just as sweet, I'm sure, in a very different way when they're 17, 18, 28, 38. I don't know. I hope we become good friends. I hope we do. But the point I'm making is that sometimes in life we get caught up in all kinds of dramas, or we get triggered by something, or someone is annoying us in a very deep way, or we've taken offense over something, or some issues going on. Maybe it's a business thing, a money thing, a health thing. And I think it's really important to remind ourselves of how impermanent everything is, that whatever comes will go, that ultimately life is most definitely the art of letting go, of just moving on. This is also important, this perspective, I guess, because I think also when things are going great and things are sweet and things are beautiful and things are just magnificent, it's important to pause and ponder and be grateful for the moment that we have. Mary next door, my neighbor who I just mentioned, her funeral was only just a few days ago, obviously as of the time of this recording. And my wife and I decided to bring our sons to the funeral. It was their first funeral. We figured it was this is the wrong language here, but we figured it was a safe enough funeral for them to come to, because it was a genuine appreciation and celebration of someone's life. At 102, like 4 weeks shy of 102 is amazing. Very different funeral to the tragic energy and the deep loss that was felt when our running friend passed away so tragically, really at the peak of life. I mean, 63 is where you've earned the right to truly live your life, with all the ups and downs, the tunnels, the challenges, the glories, the learnings, all the things that come with being 60, when having positive life experiences, or having life experiences where we've learned and grown and expanded. And that was a different vibe. That was, oh my Lord, that was such a hard funeral to be at, because it reminds us of all of the impermanence, and also the vulnerability of the human condition, in that it can end at any moment. Whereas the funeral with Mary was, even though there was tears and some sadness, there was also an over sweeping and over sort of feeling over. It was like a white cloud hovering over the top. It was like her spirit enjoying being with us, celebrating her life. And I think it was really important for our sons to be exposed to a funeral. When Oliver saw the coffin being taken away from the actual building, from the church into the hearse, he asked me what that was, and I said that's called a coffin. He goes, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Mary's body is in there," and he was quite. That was a defining moment for him, because I could see it on his face. It was quite shocking for him, but in a positive way, because. And I said, "Well, hun, the reason why Mum and I have invited you and Nicholas here is because it's a life lesson. We want you to learn about, how precious life is. And we know that you know that, but this is just another level of understanding that." And so we took them out of school, obviously, for that service. And then in the afternoon, we had the afternoon to ourselves, and it was a normal school day. So we went off to a local park to release some energy and just enjoy the frivolity and fun of, well, for me anyway, just enjoying the frivolity and fun of existence, of just simply being here. And I shared with my wife, I said to Silvana, I said, "Gee, Mary has left us one parting gift." And she said, "How do you mean?" I said, "She's left us this parting gift of this afternoon." Because, we would never take the boys out of school for a random reason just to go to a park and play. We just don't do that. There's no reason for that. Well, we certainly just don't do that. So, given that the funeral was in the morning or late morning, and then we went to the park in the afternoon, it was a wonderful parting gift from Mary. Because that was, to me, that was like a gift of the awareness of impermanence, the sheer depth of gratitude and appreciation for the life that we do have, that we are able to, for the four of us in full health and energy and vitality, to go to a local park and kick a ball around and play on the swings and different bits and pieces. It's just marvelous. It is beautiful. It is beatific. It is simply amazing. So I thought I'd just, today's podcast is probably going to be a little bit earlier, a bit shorter than normal, but I just wanted to reflect with you these thoughts that I've had over the last few days, because it's been uncanny how, been to 2 funerals in the last 3 weeks, and also just the silliness of running past that signboard, noticing for the first time in many, 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 many years, a decade, that a new business is sponsoring the fate sign, the board advertising the fate of the school fate, FETE, not fate as in destiny. And And just thinking about how that family is not associated with us anymore as a community at our school, and how things just do move on. So if you're listening to this, as you're listening to this podcast, if you're experiencing some difficulties and some challenges, and I know that I don't want this to sound like a platitude, because it's not. But whatever you're experiencing right now, it's going to pass. By the same token, if life is grand and you're enjoying what is going on, my God, be there completely. Like, be present to it and be grateful for it, be appreciative of it, because that will pass as well. Ultimately, we need to let go of everything. And it is the art of letting go. If I can share something quirky and ridiculous with you, I was over in interstate in Sydney recently, just the last weekend, delivering a training. And it's normally a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And on the Saturday night or the Friday night, I can't remember which night it was, I was in my hotel room after the day's training, just loading up on the internet there on my computer a movie to watch and just to enjoy a meal. And I had picked up a bag of Maltesers. We're talking about the 140-gram bags of Maltesers, the 140-gram bag, the big bag. And I've never understood the point of resealable chocolate bags, because I think that once you open that bag, you've got to go on a mission and complete it. That's what I reckon. Anyway, why am I telling you about these Maltesers? What's that got to do with impermanence, other than the obviousness of the impermanence of the Maltesers in their bag transforming into my stomach? But the point I want to make is that when I finished eating those Maltesers, I felt really ordinary, like as in the shoot of, the sugar hit was massive, 140 grams of, I don't know how many Maltesers that is, but it's a lot of Maltese balls, right? And I've done this for years, and I'm noticing that the way my body responds to that now is not the same. And so I made a decision right there, like when you've made a decision at the depths of your spirit, the depths of your soul, like you've made a decision. My decision was, I'm not doing this again. I am not buying these big bags of Maltesers anymore. I let go of Maltesers. Now, I know this sounds ridiculous. I know this sounds ludicrous. But let me tell you that was a moment for me, not a big moment, not a life-defining moment, but it was a moment where I got to think, well, I've let go of Maltesers. What else is in my life at the moment that has no use anymore, or that is not contributing anymore, or is dulling my mind, or is not adding to my own personal evolution? Let go of that as well. So life is all about letting go. And if we can let go of the little things, we start to learn how to let go of the big things, whatever those big things are for you. I mean, I know the day's coming. I said to a friend of mine whose kids are adults, they're in their 20s. And I said, and this lady was sharing with me, this friend was sharing with me how one of her children is currently, touring Europe, and she's been away for many, many months. And I said, how do you deal with that, knowing that your child, your baby, is on the other side of the planet, in a different time zone, and all the stuff that goes with that? How do you handle the vulnerability of that? And she says, well, you just do. You just have to. It's letting go. You have to let go. Because as a parent, we've only got the two 11-year-olds, and the impermanence of that, of them becoming adults one day where we're not going to know where they are. I mean, right now as parents, I know exactly where they are at every given minute of every day. They're either at school, or they're at home, or they're at a friend's place, or they're playing tennis, or they're doing golf, or they're doing drama, or they're with their tutor, or I know where they are all the time. And I have a wonderful feeling about that, a feeling of comfort and certainty. But one day I'll need to let go of that, because the day will come where I will not know where they are. And that's okay. It's got to be okay. It's not okay, but it's got to be okay. So the point I'm making is that the power of impermanence, and the point of this conversation with you today, is to share with you how whatever it is that you're going through, phenomenal things, difficult things, whether you're going through your own grief, whatever it is, ultimately a great life is a life that embraces the art of letting go, understanding with awareness that whatever it is that we've got in this moment is impermanent, that it's not going to last. It's moving. Life is continually moving, and it doesn't wait for us. So whatever decisions you need to make about different parts of your life, whether it's a career decision, a personal decision, a body health decision, or a food decision, or whatever the decision is, make it now, because life's not waiting. And it just does. It goes in the blink of an eye. Every single person. I remember there was a book that I read many years ago called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware, who was an amazing, or still is an amazing author, but also she was a palliative care nurse who took care of people in the final 8 years of her career. She took care of people who were on their last legs, literally in their homes, looking after them and helping them pass in peace. And she said that whilst many of the people who were dying, had regrets, there were many. Because what happened was the blog that she wrote, which became the book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, was as a result of her conversations with people in their last weeks, where she would ask if they had any regrets. And a lot of them did, unfortunately. And one of the top regrets was that people regretted not living their life loyal to their own values, to their own soul, to their own mission, living their life the way that other people, the way they thought other people wanted them to live their life, living their life for their parents, or living their life for their boss, or for their, whatever, there's other insert external people here, right? But the point I want to make is that even the people that were regret-free, whether they were regret-free or full of regrets, Bronnie Ware said that they all said the same thing when it came to their last breath, or when it came to their last moments. They all said, "Can't believe it's over already. Can't believe it's over already." And I think that is a very important message, in that the power of impermanence is having an awareness that it will be over. And when it's over, we will be saying the same thing. Whether we're 102, whether we're 63, or whether we're, bless anyone who passes in their early stages of life, 18, 15, 20, it's over quick. So let's have an appreciation, let's have a fresh perspective on the fact that we're breathing, having an awareness that every breath that we breathe is a brand new breath that's never been breathed before. So anyway, just reflecting today on the power of impermanence, and I hope this conversation sparks some important things in your perspective, because I believe that the quality of our life is absolutely in connection directly to the health of our perspective. And I trust that this message today helps remind all of us of what matters, what doesn't matter, what matters most, and what matters least. And at the end of the day, what matters most are the people that we are surrounded by, the people that we love, the people that we care for, and the people that we would do anything for. And I know that a lot of us, a lot of you perhaps listening to this podcast might find yourself spending more time with the people at work than you do with the people at home that you care for. Well, I believe it's possible to have real connection with people at work as well, because all of us have got the same foibles. All of us have got the same vulnerabilities. All of us are afraid of, not being enough, or being found out, or not belonging, or not being loved. All of us have got the fundamental same sort of rejections that we fear as human beings. Fear of not being loved is a big one, not being accepted, So anyway, the point I want to make is that have an appreciation, a healthy appreciation, and you may already have that, and this is just a reminder, or you've forgotten and this is a reminder. Either way, I trust that today's message helps reset, respark, clean up, clarify the perspective that you have on whatever's going on for you in your life right now. Because whatever's going on, good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to go. So the art of letting go is what it's all about. Anyway, I certainly hope I haven't depressed you. My point is that I wanted to be reflective today, and that's just what was going on in my mind in the last 24 hours, and I wanted to share it with you. So I trust you're all well, and thank you so much for listening to this episode 4 of Insights with Joe Pane, and enjoy, and I'll catch up with you next week for episode 5. Thank you so much for listening. It's really appreciated. Bye for now. I'm Joe Pane, and you've been listening to Insights, the podcast. If you haven't yet, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. You can now follow my insights on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to being with you again very soon in the next episode of Insights, the podcast.